Think again.
Oprah Winfrey weekdays at 4 here on...
But first, we'll look at the basics. The way exchanges are being computer automated. Money's Worth Jeff Ansell reports.
Well, I'll put the order in right now, and I'll call you back shortly with the report.
This is the way most stocks used to be purchased. A client's order is phoned into his broker, who in turn relays the order to their desk at the edge of the exchange floor.
Bob Bastianin!
From there, a floor trader, dressed so he can be easily picked out in a crowd, runs the order to the appropriate trading post on the exchange floor. The designated market maker is a veteran trader responsible for maintaining an orderly market. He regulates the buying and selling of shares of a few specified stocks and securities. For example, if there are no traders who want to buy when another trader wants to sell, then the market maker has to buy the shares. This way, he ensures two things: that the public will be able to continue to trade in those securities, and that the market stays relatively liquid.
The more market makers you have, the more liquidity you have in the market. That is the most essential thing in a stock market: liquidity and fairly tight spread, both of which are done by market makers.
Enter CATS, not the feline, and no, not the plague. CATS is the acronym for Computer Assisted Trading System, and today is handling a quarter of the trades on the TSE. Here's how it works. When a client's order is received, the broker's computer talks directly to the CATS computer post at the TSE, bypassing the floor traders completely. And it all happens in about 2 seconds.
I will sell 1,000 SHK 21 1/4. I'll bring it to the edit stage. It shows me exactly what I want to do. It shows me the market going into the marketplace. I enter the order. I have sold 1,000 at 21 1/4. My report is right here. The hard copy comes on a printer that is at the end of this kiosk and will be here shortly.
That's pretty fast.
That is fast. It's done. It's complete. The person on the other end of the trade has already have their report and can report it to their client immediately.
CATS allows for off-floor trading from more than 300 terminals worldwide over telephone wires, and the trades are executed automatically. It's part of a growing trend toward 24-hour electronic trading. CATS and the floor differ not only in market efficiency, but also in the way they execute the trading or auctioning of stocks, which has raised a number of philosophical questions.
In CATS, you have one man making the market, and if he's isolated in his office and a large order comes in and he doesn't need it all, he doesn't have any friends to call on. Now, I have people here who trade my stocks sometimes, and if a large order comes in, I can get 4 or 5 of them to help me out and spread the risk.
So you think the human factor is an important consideration?
Oh, I think it is. I think very definitely. I think eyeball to eyeball is a lot better than staring into a screen.
I deal directly with another person on the other end of this terminal that is human. Therefore, the human element has not changed.
I don't think CATS versus face-to-face is the actual problem. I think it's the integration, and it's the weighing and assessing of different situations and different trading modes. Our particular situation, the face-to-face trading system, is to incorporate the best of CATS and new technology and bring that together with our expertise. The ability to negotiate, the ability to exchange information is far more readily available and far more efficient when you do it in a face-to-face manner.
As the debate rages on, the TSE has launched a $1.25 million study into computer-based trading compared with person-to-person stock trades. Here on the floor, one trader was heard to say, in CATS, you trade with your eyes. I trade with my hands, my mouth, my eyes, and my ears. But is that more efficient? And ultimately, is it better for the investing public? I'm Jeff Ansell from Money's Worth.
Joining us in the studio is William Watson, Associate Professor of Economics at McGill University. Welcome to Money's Worth, Professor Watson.
No, it wasn't like I said no. No, I was younger also. You know, I enjoyed it. I wasn't, you know, I wouldn't. You'd have to be crazy not to want those things, you know, if somebody can offer.
Zundel is guilty of publishing news he knew to be false about the Holocaust. In spite of that, when he emerged from the court late this afternoon, Zundel still maintained the Holocaust was a hoax.
You know, this is just one more hurdle to overcome, and I have always looked upon boulders in the path of my life not as stumbling blocks, but as stepping stones.
Zundel was convicted on the same charge 3 years ago, but the conviction was reversed on appeal. The judge ordered a second trial. At issue is this pamphlet. Zundel didn't write it, but he published it here in Canada. It states the Nazis didn't have a policy of exterminating Jews. Zundel admits some people died, but claims pictures such as these, taken by the Allied armies and used as evidence at the Nuremberg war crimes trials, are simply part of a massive Zionist plot to extort money from Germany. The law says it is illegal to publish false news if it could damage the public interest. In this case, the judge said the public's interest in racial and social tolerance.
What you're seeing is Jewish hate. Why don't you go and be in Nazi Germany again?
After the verdict today, simmering tempers on both sides boiled over.
I have 2 sisters, a father and a mother, and I lost them all.
Several people at the court survived the Holocaust, members of the group which had pursued Zundel's prosecution. They were overjoyed at the guilty verdict.
I'm happy. I'm happy that justice has been done.
Zundel's second trial was much different from his first. 3 years ago, media coverage gave him what he said was $1 million worth of publicity. This trial got much less coverage. And in this trial, the judge told the jury the existence of the Holocaust itself wasn't an issue. He called it an historical fact, one which was not to be questioned by reasonable people. In charging the jury, the judge made a very strong statement about what the law means when it says public interest. Was it the public interest of Jews the jury wanted to know, or the public interest of society as a whole? The judge said they were the same thing, that an attack on one sector of society is an attack on all. Karen Webb, CBC News, Toronto.
There are new. He was found guilty for a second time after appealing a previous conviction and jail sentence. Bud Zundel says he'll take his case back to court again. Eddie Corby reports.
The second trial ended just as the first one did, with a guilty verdict against Ernst Zundel. That came as no surprise to the German-born publisher, who claims Canadians have been brainwashed about the Holocaust.
There were 11 ordinary Canadian people who, like all of us, have watched Rat Patrol, Hogan's Heroes, Holocaust films, Shoah, and all this propaganda. What are they going to say? Am I going to achieve, in a few weeks' time, what has taken 40 and 50 years to be pumped into their brains would be unrealistic.
While Zundel reveled in the media attention, Holocaust survivors wept on the sideline.
I cried for happiness, because really this is a democratic country, and we are happy. I'm happy to be a Canadian.
We would expect that there will be a jail sentence imposed, and would, of course, support that, and, of course, ultimately, if the proper jail sentence is imposed, deportation to his native country.
But Ernst Zundel, who was first convicted in 1985, plans to appeal, believing each trial is worth $1 million in publicity. He says his grounds will be that Judge Ronald Thomas erred in telling the jury the Holocaust was not on trial, that the mass murder of Jews during World War II should be considered a historical fact.
What is happening is sick. It's a mental illness, you know, and I'm the doctor that is about to cure it. Mr. Zundel, I'm one of the survivors of a Holocaust that you said never happened.
And that emotional outburst triggered a shouting match.
You're seeing Jewish hate in action. You want to start where Hitler finished. You son of a bitch.
Ernst Zundel is free on bail and will be sentenced on Friday. He expects the jail sentence, but vows he will continue his crusade as long as Canadian taxpayers are willing to pay for his prosecution. Eddie Corby, CTV News, Toronto.
There are reports tonight that the United States government...
If at some point the defendant no longer reasonably believed that any of the 4 individuals...
Whoever it may be will be ready, and should be just tremendous series.
Got to ask you about this rink. You haven't lost a playoff game in this rink. You were the best regular season team at home. It's supposed to be a rink that's quiet, and yet this team plays so well in here.
This rink isn't quite in the playoffs by any stretch of the imagination at all. It's
Medical fact. The representative of a major Jewish organization applauded the verdict.
Very important for all minorities. It reaffirms for us the efficacy of the judicial system in dealing and in upholding social and racial tolerance in this country.
As before, Mr. Zundel's next stop after sentencing seems likely to be the Court of Appeal and the continuation of a legal process that first began in November 1983. John Darby, Global News, Toronto.
First one did, with a guilty verdict against Ernst Zundel. That came as no surprise to the German-born publisher, who claims Canadians have been brainwashed about the Holocaust. While Zundel reveled in the media attention, Holocaust survivors wept on the sideline.
I cried for happiness, because really this is a democratic country, and we are happy. I'm happy to be a Canadian.
But Ernst Zundel, who was first convicted in 1985, plans to appeal, believing each trial is worth $1 million in publicity. He says his grounds will be that Judge Ronald Thomas erred in telling the jury the Holocaust was not on trial, that the mass murder of Jews during World War II should be considered a historical fact.
What is happening is sick. It's a mental illness, you know, and I'm the doctor that is about to cure it. Mr. Zundel, I'm one of the survivors of a Holocaust that you said never happened.
And that emotional outburst triggered a shouting match.
You're seeing Jewish hate in action. You want to start where Hitler finished. You son of a bitch.
Ernst Zundel is free on bail and will be sentenced on Friday. He expects the jail sentence, but vows he will continue his crusade as long as Canadian taxpayers are willing to pay for his prosecution. Eddie Corby, CTV News, Toronto.
The verdict was handed down yesterday after a 3-month trial. Zundel immediately vowed to appeal. The 11-member jury deliberated for 2 days before finding Zundel guilty of knowingly spreading false news. Zundel published a pamphlet that claimed the Holocaust was a hoax. It was his second conviction on the same charge. The first was overturned on appeal. Canadian Jewish leaders praised yesterday's verdict, saying it will serve to deter hate mongers. Zundel is now out on bail, but he will be back in court tomorrow for sentencing.